Hi, thanks, Claire. My name is John Bentema. I work for a company called Leidos, and we are the contractor for the Ameren, Illinois Energy Efficiency Program. I just want to thank Claire and Janine Harlow at the Illinois Society of Professional Engineers for providing us this opportunity, and we've had a really good and strong partnership with ISPE the last several years, and we always enjoy working with them, and of course always enjoy talking with the members as well. With that, could I have the next slide, please? Before we get started today, just want to make everyone aware that during this difficult time during COVID, that Ameren, Illinois is aware of some struggles that you or a business may be having. If there are any concerns that you might have regarding upcoming bill or any of your utility use, I would suggest you or family member or a business contact that you have checking out AmerenIllinoisSavings.com/recovery. There you'll find out about different financial assistance for Ameren, Illinois customers, some small business support, also appropriate PPE resources, and other information that would be very valuable for business owners and even homeowners during this pandemic. So again, I would encourage everyone to visit AmerenIllinoisSavings.com/recovery, or if you're needing further information, say with maybe a bill pay or questions about your bill, you can always check out AmerenIllinois.com for other options. Next slide, please. With that, and like Claire said earlier, our two speakers today are Andrea Reiff, who is the Public Sector Energy Advisor. She is also with Leidos, who is an Ameren, Illinois contractor. Andrea is the Public Sector Energy Advisor for our program, and she covers the entire area of the Ameren, Illinois service territory. Also with us today is Robert Cole, and Robert is the Director of Building and Inspections for the City of East Peoria. Andrea will go over some areas of cities and municipalities that have done projects to reduce their energy use, so she'll kind of give you some examples, and then Robert will give you some real-life examples of what the City of East Peoria is doing to make that city as energy efficient as possible. So with that, I'd say next slide, and I'd like to introduce Andrea Reiff.
Thanks, John. And hi, everyone. And thank you all for participating. I'm going to talk about a few of the top opportunities for energy efficiency upgrades. LED lighting is one of the top measures, and energy efficiency is not the only benefit. Top LED applications include lights with the longest operating hours, but you should also consider using LED lights for those areas that require special equipment such as lifts or bucket trucks, or where maintenance is a scheduling nightmare. Applications include street lights, parking lots and walkways, parking garages, exterior building lights, interior lights, stairways, and exit signs. Interior fluorescent lighting has evolved from T12s to T8s and T5s, and as good as the fluorescent light efficiency has become, LED is better, and LED continues to improve at a more rapid pace. As long as fluorescent lights last, LED lights last much longer. Fluorescent lamps require the use of a ballast, which it too has evolved from magnetic ballasts with PCBs to electronic ballasts, but the ballasts still have issues. When the ballast has an imperfection or is damaged, or the fluorescent lamp is failing, you've probably heard the annoying buzzing noises, or the light flickers, or possibly smelt a bad ballast. So those are certainly some other shortcomings of fluorescent lighting. Other shortcomings include waste disposal and recycling issues due to compact fluorescent lamps and also some linear fluorescent lamps containing mercury. Whereas LEDs are more directional, so light is focused where needed. LEDs don't produce as much heat as halogen, incandescent lamps, CFLs, linear fluorescent, and most HID lighting, so they are perfect for spaces with internal heat loads from people and/or equipment. When you upgrade to LEDs, you'll also want to consider all the advanced lighting control opportunities. You can purchase fixtures with wireless controls to control each fixture individually versus being limited to controlling by the bank of fixtures wired to a specific circuit. Next slide, please. This slide shows how LED street lighting appears brighter, and since the lighting is more directional, you'll have less dark spots. Aerial views from cities that have upgraded to LED street lighting show less light pollution. And advanced lighting controls can be used with these street lights to dim or brighten based on occupancy, and even controls can be added to flashlights to light the way for emergency vehicles. For the most efficient LED lighting, and this is interior or exterior, you'll want to be sure to specify Energy Star, and for commercial lighting, specify lighting that is approved by the Design Lights Consortium. Next slide, please. Another top measure to consider are variable frequency drives, which control motors based on loads. You want to use these where you have motors running at 100% and where the load varies, so you have opportunities to throttle the motor based on demand. Variable frequency drives should be considered for supply and return fans, pumps, conveyors, and shop tools. This year, the Caseyville Township Water Reclamation Facility worked with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency's Wastewater Treatment Plant Energy Assessment Program. A free assessment was provided, and Caseyville used the recommendations to guide them. This year, Caseyville installed 6 variable frequency drives to adjust the aeration blowers to match the varying plant demands. The drives were installed on 3 300 horsepower blowers and 3 125 horsepower blowers, leading to significant energy savings. The Ameren, Illinois standard variable frequency drive incentive is $125 per horsepower and capped at 80% of the total project cost. In this case, the incentive was so high that it covered more than 80% of the total project cost, and the cap came into play, but the incentives helped to reduce the payback to 6 months. Next slide, please. There's many other opportunities to increase energy efficiency, especially in your heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems. Some of the top measures include replacing large and efficient boilers with multiple smaller condensing boilers that are at least 93% efficient, and replacing old furnaces with higher efficiency units of 94% or better. Another opportunity is to use demand-controlled ventilation, which uses carbon dioxide detectors to detect occupancy to control the rate of ventilation. Now, these CO2 sensors do need to be replaced at some time, so it does add some maintenance, but we still recommend demand-controlled ventilation. And COVID has spurred the adoption of ultraviolet light air purifiers, which can reduce energy by cleaning the air and reducing the use of unconditioned ventilation air, and this can be combined with demand-controlled ventilation. Currently, the state of Illinois is offering some Cura grants, and I know some of the major control companies are working with municipalities to apply and use grant funds for air purification. Recommended efficiency levels vary depending on the type of cooling system you have, but where applicable, applicable. Use outside air economizers for free cooling. And retro commissioning is another opportunity where your building automation system is tuned up, and somebody comes through and does a walkthrough assessment and helps to make recommendations to tune up control settings and control devices and look for additional control opportunities. And Peoria Public School District took a strategic approach to HVAC upgrades by focusing in those school buildings with the highest energy use first. They were able to replace inefficient window air conditioning units with high-efficiency central air systems, downsize old inefficient boilers to smaller condensing boilers. And they tuned up their building automation system to better adjust occupancy schedules, occupied temperature set points, and unoccupied temperature set points. They also added variable frequency drives to their air handling units and pool pump and upgraded to LED lighting. So they hit on quite a few of the top recommendations. Next slide, please. The utilities have free tools to help you analyze your electric data. Both Ameren and ComEd offer some form of the Energy Analyzer tool, and these tools are great because they can be used for demand management. The top rectangle shows a typical demand dashboard, which you can use to help you find where you might have opportunities to move consumption to off-peak demand hours or help you lower your on-peak demand. The great thing about these tools is you can add many accounts and you can invite other coworkers so you can view your electrical data as a dashboard, view all your accounts together, share them with your coworkers. And all you need to sign up is your account number and an email. Next slide, please. We just wanted to give you the program information because many utilities provide incentives for efficiency upgrades, and we hope that you all look into that as you're doing projects. In Illinois, there's a public benefit fund generated from a charge on investor-owned utility bills that utilities use to offer incentives and other programs such as retro-commissioning studies. This slide shows a list of program links for the investor-owned utilities as well as the Illinois Municipal Electric Agency for electric cooperative members. Next slide, please. I'd like to put in a plug. This year, the annual Ameren Illinois Business Symposium will be a virtual event on October 21st and 22nd. Attendance of 2 sessions secures a 15% bonus coupon, which can be applied to future energy efficiency projects. Registration is open now, so please enter. Next slide, please. This is a contact. My contact information is on the bottom of the slide here, Andrea Reiff. And I would just once again like to repeat that if you're doing any projects with energy efficiency components, please be sure and contact your utility early on in the process because we always want to help you maximize your incentive, whether you're an AE working with a public sector entity or you're at a public sector entity. Please call Ameren or ComEd as soon as you find out about a project, and we can again help you maximize your incentives. And as a taxpayer, I think we all appreciate all the help that our public sectors can get. So I thank you for your time, and I will with that, I will kick this over to Robert Cole with East Peoria. Thank you. Next slide,
Thank you,
please.
Andrea. Thank you again, Andrea. I thank ISPE for allowing me to be on the panel here. My name is Robert Cole with the City of East Peoria. I am the Director of Buildings and Inspections for the city. So our department is broke up into 3 divisions, one being facilities of all the city buildings, 2 is code enforcement and enforcement on that end, and then building inspections as far as permitting, inspecting, and certifying, making sure that all residents and businesses comply within the codes, including the energy codes, obviously, with the state. But I duly appreciate the invite. And next slide, please. I kind of wanted to just give you a snapshot of some of these projects that fell within the Ameren energy efficiency programs. The City of East Peoria started back in 2006 with energy efficiency programs. So we were kind of very early on with applying for grants. And then obviously with deregulation and legislation that came along with including monies to be set aside for energy efficiency programs, we took advantage of each one of them as from 2006 on. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight some of the slides that we recently used, either Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, or then morphed into the Ameren energy efficiency programs. But I just really wanted to kind of just go over some of the projects very briefly. Everybody can kind of see the first project, which was 17. What we had accomplished was 32 HID fixtures to LED, and this was along one of our corridors near the river, where Embassy Suites Hotel and all that is. But as you can see, the total project cost with the incentive, I did throw this one in, Andrea, as a DCO, and John, but it kind of gives you a snapshot of our city portion and the simple payback, which was 3 months. So, and the amount that was the amount of kilowatt hours that were saved. So, next slide. This one, this project here really shows exactly what Andrea was pointing out with the directional LEDs. The top picture off to your right is actually, we had induction lighting at the time. We could never afford LED back in 2010, 2011. We applied for a grant and we were accepted for it. So we literally went from HIDs to induction fixtures. But this picture here, the before and after, is literally going from induction to then directional LED. And the contrast in the way, I mean, it's just night and day. And I think that kind of shows and represents what LED technology can do. The whole entire street is completely lit. And obviously, the project cost, we kept all these projects that we'll be talking about, we pretty much kept, well, I think every one of them was in-house labor. So whether it be myself or my staff in the facilities division were installing all this. So that's where the total project costs kind of kept them low. Obviously, the incentives were really good on this project. We try to keep things in a municipality under 5-year simple payback. This one fell within that at 3.4 years. Next slide. Moving along with LED lighting, this was our whole entire downtown area. Of all of we had 320 HID fixtures that we converted to LED, and all these were all decoratives. This was a great opportunity to again enhance the lighting with downtown, much safer, much more energy efficient lighting. We reduced it from 185 watts to 35 watts. So the simple payback again goes back to that 3 months. The Ameren incentive was close to $16,000. Energy to reduction 81%. Just the annual energy savings alone was $29,000. So what a great project. We duly appreciate Ameren and Leidos for helping us with this project. We couldn't have done it without these incentives. Next slide. Another one of those where we replaced 39 high pressure sodium fixtures to LED. This one was unique because we fell into a different incentive group where we were able to achieve the total project costs through the Ameren incentive. But as you can see off to the right is the before and after, and the contrast, is just unbelievable. People were commenting on they didn't even realize how bright the roundabout is. This is actually a roundabout around Clock Tower and Target and all that down in the Levy District. But what a great project. Again, we couldn't have done this project without the help of these energy efficiency programs. Next slide. Last year, we kind of started ramping up a lot of our lighting projects, whether it be the street lights or parking lots or wall packs or other lighting, is just about done. So we've converted everything going over to some HVAC upgrades. So this was just one project that I wanted to highlight because if you look up at the top right picture, this furnace was tucked away in a corner of a dead end hallway. And when we started looking at upgrading it, we really put a lot of thought into where this unit was going to be for accessibility to efficiency, making sure that airflows were proper. And we chose actually to move this from the lower up into a mezzanine that was very much more out of the way, very clean. So the bottom picture shows you exactly the furnace installed, all new ductwork. We put Air Bear, which is a great filtration system for that unit, and the actual condensing unit is right outside on the other side of that wall, hung up about 4 or 5 feet off the ground to keep it from the elements, keep it from the salt and all the other contaminants that surround this particular building, which is a public works garage building. So as you can see, we replaced one unit. Total project cost was about $6,600. The Ameren incentives was $2,100. We did add a Wi-Fi programmable stat to this that we then can control or program on the fly. We have the app. It's just a great way. I looked at it as the energy reduction at 60%, but I think we're closer towards that 70 to 75% because we do some scheduling as far as weekends. Set points go down when they're unoccupied modes, and it was most definitely a great project. Next slide. Last year, again, we had the opportunity to replace 2 units at the police department that were, I think they were original, so that was 1986. As you can see from the top, we just done a kind of a snapshot of that one. That one was kind of oriented kind of towards a wall, so we decided to shift it and kind of have it so that it's kind of straight on, so replacing parts or anything like that. But we did replace 2 units. Total project cost was $8,600. We got a $4,200 incentive for that. Again, it goes back to programming, having that Wi-Fi stat to be able to program unoccupied times, setbacks. The police department, and this serves some of the administrative areas and the record-keeping portion of the building, and they had seen just a huge difference in just the comfort in those areas. We did put it at a 60% reduction, but I think with all the other programming and that it's probably closer towards that 70 to 75% also. Next slide. This one was a unique opportunity for us to actually go into. This was a water plant off Oakwood Road, and they had they had 5 hang down forced air heaters that had some issues with them. They were probably about 25 years old. Seems like our maintenance staff was there an awful lot. Years ago, we had a grant to put these same infrared heaters in tube heaters in our fire stations and public works. So this was a great opportunity to, because of the conditions that a water treatment plant has, these actual units are all completely stainless. They're specific to a high corrosive environment like a water treatment plant would be. But I just gave you a snapshot of where two of the tube heaters combined, the flues combined into one flue box and then went out. So I was very impressed at the staff kind of hanging these and kind of getting everything orientated for the flue. So that's why I included that. The total project cost was $92,200. The incentive was great incentive for this. I think the natural gas reduction was the most of that incentive. It wasn't so much, we always thought because they were hang down forced airs that you had all this electricity with the blowing, but really it is the actual gas consumption on these tube heaters are so efficient that by the time that the flue goes out, it's been stripped of its heat by 70-80%, which is just great. Next slide. Just some fun facts as far as energy savings. What we talk about is the consumption in most of the buildings, and they really attributed to the heating, lighting, and HVAC. The city has obtained over $450,000 in grants or incentives to upgrade our city facilities. The use of LED lighting includes all of our floats, all of our displays up in our park. If ones that understand East Peoria, the Festival of Lights is our annual gift to the taxpayers around this communities to be able to go and enjoy, take a break from the holiday hustle and go and drive through our park and enjoy all of the floats and displays that we have. Since we converted, now everything's been converted. All of our C7s to our rope lighting, everything's LED, everything's automated. We've been able to achieve about $80,000 a seasonal savings. That's only for 2 months since we got everything converted. So that's huge for the community. Obviously, the LED lighting is just so much more crisp and bright, and the blues even still make me a little nauseous, but it's all good. The city's replaced over 90% of our office lighting using LED technology, and most of it was instant incentives through Ameren. So we most definitely appreciate that. And then future projects will continue for us here at the city, and most definitely understand that eventually there will be an expiration for these incentives. So now's the time to take advantage of these incentives. They're not going to be here forever. Next slide, please. This slide is just a snapshot. I just wanted to show kind of where, and if you can see the color grid, you have the green, which is our contract, what we're paying for the futures or for the energy. The dotted line was prior year actual. So what energy we are actually at those particular months. But the lighter kind of grayish is our actual. And what I wanted to show you, and that is the representation of some months. I mean, we're in 24% reduction in on peak. We have gotten up to 15% just in a reduction in just off peak demand. So that kind of shows you where we've kind of gone. And every year, we kind of reanalyze where we've been. And quite frankly, we've seen before we even started with energy efficiency projects, we were somewhere right around 1.4 to 1.6 million that we were spending. We've got this down to around 400,000, so that's huge. And that's all attributed to, being able to get into these buildings, whether it be on public works as far as VFDs, all of our pumps, whether it be from our sewer treatment plants to our water treatment plants have been converted over the years when the incentives were great, as they are now. HVAC upgrades to LED lighting. I mean, everything is a contributing factor to this reduction. And we look at this as saying, that this money that we save, goes back into the community. It goes back in for public safety. It goes back for your roads and other infrastructure improvements than for utility costs. So this is just a snapshot of one particular year, but there's more to come with this. So next slide. We talk about COVID and what ramifications it has caused for local municipalities. And quite frankly, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of my capital improvement budget for facilities from 20 to 25. And I want you to do note just the 2020. We were slated for spending quite a bit of money on whether to be automation. Bass Pro is one of our largest buildings that were responsible for 32 rooftop units, and then a host of other exterior lighting and some others, but East Side Center. But what I wanted to show is a lot of this was reduced. So literally we took it, and I didn't add that up. I apologize for that, but it was up in the $200,000 range, and we had to limit it to the funding that was available to that $65,000 this year, just because we had a moratorium on spending altogether. So without the ability to have funding and a tax base for whether to be the gaming funds, which are down 80% to date, we're not able to move forward on a lot of these capital improvements. Next slide. Other areas that obviously we're looking into, and that is upgrading to LED and oddly enough, I'm glad I put this on here because literally my staff just finished up our police station exterior parking lot. That included some wall packs. They were actually induction that were converted to LED. So that's another building that's now went from fluorescent, we'll call it, to now directional LED. The wall packs were full 100% cutoffs, meaning everything's directional. I know I stopped by the police station Saturday night just to talk to a couple of the officers, and they were highly impressed with just the fixtures that were replaced. They really liked the cutoff wall packs. They were a little different, and change for most people is a little hard at times, but they did like the fact that all that light was concentrated where it needed to be in their walkways and parking lot areas. So I think as far as a safety standard, it most definitely increased that. Obviously, as you know, with the events of COVID and all the rioting and other things, the safety of the lighting increasing, the foot candles or lumens on the ground really help with the actual cameras and the resolution to being able to see things, whether to be a car or maybe a person coming up. So I wanted to include, it's not just the energy savings we're always looking towards, it's other safety factors, and that being a prime example of that. As Andrea mentioned, we do a lot of automation. Most of our buildings have some form. The larger buildings, have BAS systems. We do a lot of demand control, ventilation, CO2 detection so that we can maximize our efficiencies. So we'll continue to find ways to increase our automation to be able to reduce costs for the future. The next thing is we're going to be continuing our HVAC upgrades within the city facilities. We are probably somewhere around 60% completed with all of our buildings. we consist of about 130 buildings. A lot of them are maybe a pump house here or that, but it's still an awful lot awful lot of buildings that we maintain. And then budget allocation post-COVID is what we're already talking about our budget already within the city, trying to figure out where the tax money is going to be for the future, hopefully post-COVID. But that's plans that we are constantly reviewing and looking for opportunities or ways to be able to cut the budget, find ways to get things done in the most efficient manner. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for these incentives, and we wouldn't be able to do what we've gotten done, that's for sure. Next slide. Again, I thank you. I thank Ameren, Illinois, the Leidos family for helping us through this. Again, we couldn't have done this by ourselves without the incentives, without grants and other opportunities. I think what Andrea said, and I'll echo, and that is all of our contact information is on there. Please reach out if you have any questions or anything that you'd seen and maybe want a little more information on. Most definitely reach out to myself or Andrea or John for that matter. And we appreciate the invite, and I hope it was useful for all.
All right, thank you,
All right,
Robert and Andrea, for telling us. And I think I'll turn it over to Claire now to kind of maybe wrap things up, or if there's any questions.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for your time today. Again, thank you to our attendees and our registrants for this First Friday presentation. I will have the quiz at the link that we normally have our handouts and quizzes. I hope everybody has a safe and wonderful rest of their week. Thank you.